Hi everyone, welcome back to APU live seminar session. It's me again. So for those first time joining us, my name is John from Asia Pacific University of Technology and Innovation, APU. I'm your host for today. So this series of live seminar talks covering various topics of postgrad, which touching on different fields, AI, data science, and MBA. If you have missed our 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. session, always feel free to watch replay at our Facebook page or your YouTube channel. For more information, please visit our website at www.apu.edu.my and also can follow our Facebook page. Without further, let us explore the analytic driven MBA. Welcome, Associate Prof. Dr. Jason. Hi, Associate Prof. Dr. Jason.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for that introduction.
Yes.
Welcome everyone. And as the introduction suggested and as the title suggests, we're going to talk a little bit about analytics-driven MBA. Now, why are we looking at specifically analytics-driven? I could have said digitally driven. I could have said technology-driven. Pandemic driven, post-pandemic driven, hopefully. The reason why we've chosen analytics is twofold. One is the MBA has to be driven by understanding the market. We have got to, an MBA is always a flagship for any business school. And what we have to do is look at the marketplace, look at the skills that we are embedding in our graduates with an MBA to make sure that they have those future-proofed skills. So the analytics comes in and understanding the market, doing the research, doing the data analysis, and that is driving MBA innovation. The second one is that analytics has long been, for the last few years, an important component of MBAs. Now, what we will do is we will look at MBAs in general as a narrow down to looking at aspects of our particular MBA portfolio. So I'll tie in with a previous session I delivered on soft skills and the future graduate. And so making sure that embedding Industry 4.0 initiatives are well and truly in the MBA initiatives. So that's how it's going to kind of move forward. So we've got a few slides to get through today. And then we'll have some questions at the end. I'm sure some of you will have questions about, is the MBA right for me? Should I do an MBA? What's the difference between an MBA and another perhaps master's program? So I would imagine questions like that may come up. And thinking that, I've tried to address that in some of the opening slides because everyone asks these questions. So I'm going to capture some headlines that I've seen in the recent media, specifically related to Malaysia. So, in my previous talk, when I looked at future-proofing the graduate, I talked in terms of postgraduate offerings, whether that is for the business school or the School of Technology. And what I tried to get across is the point you must marry the two. I think if you have an MBA today, you must understand technology because your business is in a digitally disruptive marketplace. So I know an MBA, as I've said, is a flagship. It's been around for a long, long time. But that doesn't mean that an MBA has to be old-fashioned. It has to innovate. Now, something that I said in my previous session was I made reference to musicians. I made reference to sporting football clubs or any sort of sport club. And I think that is with us all. In order to maintain our relevance, we must innovate. We must change. We must disrupt. So when I'm talking about business, you must understand business in the context of the market in which you operate. That's why I've said a technology edge. a digital age. I think there's a lot of debate saying, should we call it digital? Should we call it technology enhanced? Disruptive even. The phrases change and they are interchangeable, but the reality is you must have an awareness of that. And I think your master the content, the modules, and the program of study. You must, because if you're not relevant, Darwinism has taught us that if you are no longer relevant, you will no longer have a viable product or service. So the world has taught us there's a lot of products that haven't moved with the times and are no longer offered. So this is why I've said business with a technology edge, and that's why we have two schools here at APU, one which focuses on business, one which focuses on technology. We have expertise in both, and then it makes it easy for us to seamlessly transition between the two to keep both schools relevant and contemporary. Now, I could talk to you about fintech. My colleague, Prof. Nafis, has spoken to you about fintech. It is very much the here and now. It's not the future. It's relevant today. My colleagues have talked to you about AI, cybersecurity, data science. So I could have chosen any number of our postgraduate programs, but I've chosen the MBA for two specific reasons. One is the debate in the Western media, and less so here in Asia, but more so in the Western media, to say, is the MBA still relevant? So I thought, because this is an investment, you're all sitting here going, should I spend money on an MBA? Should I invest in my future? And I think the answer is you should always invest in your future. We always have to continuously learn. We always have to develop our portfolio and our knowledge. But is the MBA right for me? So you may look at all these headlines and go, I'm not so sure. So that's why I'm talking about that today, to kind of gazump some of the myths that sometimes are associated to the MBA today. In addition, I want to make you aware of the changes that we have, which are ongoing on our MBA program, and some new additions to our portfolio. So, business with a technology edge. I think we can all agree that business operates within technology. We are using technology now. The digital platforms that we use, the tools that I use to devise this lecture set of lecture slides today. So yes, without technology, business would certainly not be the same. So that means that we have business programs that reflect this technology need. So what I've tried to do is give you these headlines. If you go into Google, and this is why I said it's analytics, we do our research. So, and I went in, should I study an MBA in Malaysia? And the headlines was, is the MBA worth it? Should you pursue an MBA? Is the MBA still relevant? Is the MBA still valuable to students today? So that's some of the headlines. So when you're thinking about investing in your future, you will come across these headlines. And I think that's the whole purpose of today. It's making sure that you are informed. It's making sure that you have the right knowledge to make the right decision and not just say, I'm not sure, should I? So it's my job today to kind of reassure you that the MBA is still very much relevant. It is still valuable. And if it is relevant to you, where you are in your career, so some of you might say, well, I've already got maybe a previous master's, or I've got a degree in business, and I'm really into design. I'm not a manager. I've got no intentions of being a manager. Maybe an MBA is not for you. It's not for everyone. But if you are looking to climb the career ladder, if you are looking to manage people, and sometimes we become accidental managers. I was not driven to be a manager. I became an accidental manager. And I think most of us that are managers just suddenly became managers. You know, my father was an engineer, a mechanical engineer, and all of a sudden he was put in charge of people, of staff. So he had to become a manager. And one of the first things he thought about was, should I go back to university? Should I go on a master's program, a management program, to enhance my skill set, to become not necessarily a better manager, but to understand the discipline of management and how a business works. So I mentioned in a previous talk about finance. I talked about HR, marketing, engineering, computing, technology, HR, all these disciplines together. An MBA provides you with oversight. Now, I think as a good manager, you have to walk in the shoes of your staff. You've got to walk in the shoes of employees. And an MBA gives you oversight into pain points. What are the issues in terms of operations, logistics? What's the issues in terms of marketing? What are the issues in terms of HR, people development? As a manager, you need insight into that. And the MBA, that's why it's been around for so long, in its traditional form. Now, that's where I'm going to make some distinctions here about the traditional MBA and MBAs with specialisms, MBAs with slight different directions, yet are still keep the core values of an MBA, but have just been, I don't like to use the word tweaked, but I will, have just been altered slightly to make it relevant in, or increasingly relevant in today's market, because management is management. I sometimes make reference to trends, industrial revolutions. We're in another industrial revolution, but the core value is still the same. If you still add value to an organization, you will still have a job. If your skill set is still relevant, you will still have a job. You need to understand time management, people management. That has not changed over years. So some things are still very, very much relevant today as they were 50 years ago. But some things have changed. Like 50 years ago, we weren't using digital or technology as much as we are currently. So things have to change slightly. So that's why I'm talking about, is it still relevant today? Yes, the MBA is still relevant today. It's still teaching you those skills. But you've also got those non-traditional MBAs where you have a little bit more choice, okay? Because I think as future master's students, you should be looking at master's programs and going, is it more tailored for me and my particular needs? And maybe a very rigid MBA no longer does that. But if you've got choices like an MBA with specialisms, an MBA which takes a slight unique perspective, it's maybe more relevant to you. And in addition, you still offer the traditional MBA. So that's what I'm going to speak about for the next few minutes about, is it still worth it? Is it worth pursuing? Because as I've said before, it's an investment. And you don't want to waste your money. You don't want to say, well, is this going to be relevant in 3 to 5 years' time? But the skills that I'm learning now, are they going to get me more money? I don't think we can guarantee you more money, particularly in a pandemic. But we can guarantee that you will enhance your knowledge and become better and an enhanced skill set. So I went through some articles, and I always think it's better to give you some people's perspectives. And I could give you academic perspectives, but I thought we're going to go to Malaysians and some individuals that are high up in their particular industry. So I went to an article, and okay, it's 2019, but it is very much relevant today. And they spoke to some individuals, director of engineering, chief human resources officer, as two examples, and posed the questions. Is the MBA still worth pursuing? And this is available online. And I've highlighted some key phrases here to say, networking, critical thinking, analytical ability, time management, building leadership skills. We'll just stop there, but a pause. Networking always has been. You must be able to network. Communication. Now, I'm going to tell you about the soft skills in the next slide. Okay? A lot of these things overlap, which makes you think, well, if these are the soft skills I need, MBAs are still relevant. We need communication skills. You need critical thinking, problem solving. You need to be able to lead. You should be able to manage your time and the time of others because you're going to be a manager. So it's not only thinking about yourself, you're part of a team and leading a team. So time critical issues is really important. They talk there about dealing with different challenges and providing solutions. So you're constantly dealing with different events and finding creative solutions to those particular events, some of which are very time critical. And this thing here about it says the MBA prepared students with essential skills that are highly needed and appreciated by industry nowadays. So hopefully that answers these questions. Is an MBA worth it? Should I pursue it? Is it still relevant? Well, these individuals and myself and others all think it is relevant today. Now, I want to highlight these: networking, critical thinking, analytical. Remember, I said in the headline, analytically driven MBA, analytical ability, time management, and leadership skills. Okay, so are those individuals right? These are the top skills, the top soft skills that you will need in the future. I think you will agree. These are, there's a bit of synergy between what industry leaders are saying, what an MBA should have, and what you are needing to future-proof yourselves. Leadership is there. Communication is there. Teamwork, responsibility, ability to work under pressure and time management. Decisiveness links into leadership, problem solving. So conflict resolution. So a lot of the things that were mentioned with regards to an MBA and what industry leaders are saying is chiming with what academia and what the World Economic Forum is saying, what data based on McKinsey study, etc. So there is a degree of synergy to say what skills you need. And the next question is, can the MBA deliver? Now, it should. All MBAs, being a flagship of a business school, should be able to deliver these soft skills. As an MBA holder, you should have confidence and be able to lead a team, take responsibility, have empathy, because you're dealing with those different staff members within your teams. You should be able to, in Western culture, we deal with this all the time, which we call firefighting. We are constantly dealing with problems and putting out fires everywhere. So we have to be very much creative problem solvers. In Asia, you arguably are more logical and have less pain points, if you like, because you're able to preempt. Western culture, apart from maybe, well, UK, US maybe more so, and Germany maybe a little bit more logical. But regardless, whether you are preempting or just dealing with problems as and when, you will have to deal with problems and conflicts, particularly as you have a very diverse set of staff members. So an MBA has to teach you these things because you cannot lead You cannot be an exceptional manager without a combination of these skills. So I think when we transition between these two slides and say, here's what the literature is saying, and here's what industry leaders are saying, I think there's synergy there. So I think the next part of the triangle, if you're looking at 3 points, industry, academia, what about programs? These programs that are being delivered, are these delivering on these particular skills? And I can only talk about Asia Pacific University. So that's what I'm going to do over the next few slides and say what makes our MBA ensure that we tackle these particular skills. So, if we want to engage in the world of business, we have to understand how to manage a business, manage an organization. We must be able to develop a strategy, execute that strategy. So understand the market. There has to be research involved. We have to consult with various stakeholders. We have to understand our revenue streams. We have to understand our margins. So we have to have financial management. And we have to understand marketing. And increasingly, the reliance upon big data. So we must collate the data, interpret it, understand it, and then use it to implement new products, strategies, etc. So this is traditional MBA. Okay, maybe not that. Remove the analytics. Maybe it was global marketing. But essentially, that is core in any MBA. And we cannot walk away from that. If you get rid of that, it's no longer an MBA. It's a master's in, global marketing. It's a master's in international business communications. We offer these masters. But for a master's of business expectation, there is a level of expectancy of employers to go, oh, you've got an MBA. So they instantly have this perception that these are the core skills that will be developed. So that's what we do. These are the core areas that we do in our own MBA, and it's common amongst all MBAs, or should be common. And it's been there since the first MBA was developed about 100 years ago. So what has changed, and to keep it relevant, is how it's taught, what is taught, and the content. We can't still be talking about case studies from 1930. So we can't be dealing with problems from the 1960s. So why we keep it relevant is the businesses that we engage with, the professional bodies that we engage with, the way that it's delivered, the examples, the assessments that we use, that keeps it relevant. And that makes sure that the skill set are developed. In addition, we can complement these core modules with specific, like electives or specialisms, which make sure that the MBA is still very much a relevant qualification. So hopefully everyone understands that an MBA, to be an MBA, has to have some core values. Otherwise, it's no longer an MBA. It's just simply a Master's of Management, a Master's of Business. And some people have done that. Some organizations, institutions have said they've just diluted the MBA so much that it's no longer an MBA. I personally, this is my personal perspective, I think that's wrong, because an MBA has been around for one of these few qualifications that's been around for over 100 years. And people are still valuing it. So it still has value. But we modernize the content, the way it's assessed, the way it's delivered, and some specific bespoke modules. That's what keeps it fresh. Remember I said we're all looking to keep ourselves contemporary, to develop our own skill set, because we can't rely on the skill set that we developed 20 years ago. My father, used as an example, who is a mechanical engineer who did not grow up in the digital age. He is 80 this year. He won't thank me for sharing that. He can use a tablet. He can use a laptop. He can communicate with me digitally. I'm far away in Malaysia. They are based in Scotland. In order to communicate with me. So it's a matter of necessity. The MBA has kept itself relevant by keeping to its core values, but adapting its delivery, its content, and complementing with additional focused bespoke modules. So I might not get any questions now at the end of this session, because that's usually the questions that people ask and say, is it still relevant? Is it not old-fashioned? I would like to do a more modern master's. You can, but don't just not choose an MBA because you think it's old-fashioned. It shouldn't be. It still stands as test of time. Organizations, Coca-Cola, is it old-fashioned? No, it's modernized itself, but it's still kept to its traditional core values. So companies are still there. So McDonald's has not diversified. It's kept to its core values, but has diversified. It brings in seasonal products. It will bring in, and it's modernized the way that it's delivered. It's no longer you have to go in there, you had drive-through, and now you get delivery. So very similar to an MBA. It's just modernized and upgraded itself. So what has changed? Digital transformation. You will see more of this coming out. We have an addition to our portfolio, and it looks at digital transformation. As an organization that does analytics, it would be remiss of me not to include digital transformation. We have modules. We also have it underpinning the modules that we deliver on the MBA. Why? We've drawn here a model. So digital technology infuses business. If you link back to my second slide, technology-driven business. There we go. I also said the phrases are interchangeable. Digital, technology, disruptive. I've brought the two together on this occasion to say it's not only technology, it's the digital delivery, the platforms, the digital aspects, not only technology, it's the digital enhancements that have transformed business. So technology and working with the digital. This then enhances the customer experience, our business model on how we work and how we operate, the logistics, etc. So the internal mechanisms of the business. So I've listed here about streamlining communication. We're using technology to make us more responsive. And you will notice you will go into the APU website and you'll get a pop-up saying, how can I help you? That's, streamlining technology. And you're able to get instant communication from a staff member, and they're able to respond to your questions. Okay. New opportunities that weren't available before. You're looking at becoming more entrepreneurial. Business is becoming more innovative, more responsive to particular needs, and hence why the online revolution has expanded so rapidly. Businesses have become more global. They've been given more opportunities simply because they've been given this online platform to conduct their business. Efficiencies have improved. Productivity has increased. All those are a result of organizations looking at their business. Okay, the technology exists, But without you understanding how to infuse that technology into your business model, it's not relevant. You have to understand your business and be selective in what aspects of technology you want to include to make your business better. I think it would be naive to say, if I bring in technology, I'll instantly become more productive. Not necessarily so. Are you using it in the right way? So that's why we have to look at digital transformation, how businesses are changing. It's not enough to say, I'm just going to go online. Yeah, how are you going to do it? That transformation is radical. You know, universities were forced to go online during a pandemic. It's not the same as saying, oh yeah, we'll just use Teams. No. You have to think about the transformation process, and all businesses are going through that. And as a manager in a business and a leader who requires an MBA qualification, you need to know that. How am I going to transform my business in a digital environment? How am I going to bring the staff with me? Because the staff might resist and go, I don't want to do it. So that's why you need to lead. That's why you have to deal with conflict resolution, particularly as we transform our business. So I think everyone sees the relevance there of these soft skills that I mentioned previously. Now, okay, I've mentioned a couple of industry leaders from Malaysia. Here's perhaps someone that you've heard of. Bill Gates is talking about information technology and business and the need to have them both together. Okay. What about APU School of Business? What do we say? We are looking at business programs infused by digital technologies. They empower you to lead and execute in a digital transformation in business. They nurture you, leaders, and it's a soft skill, remember, who have that digital mindset and able to apply digital technologies in various functional units of business. I mentioned finance, HR, marketing, because as an MBA gives you oversight of these aspects. So Bill Gates is saying something on the issue. We're saying something on the issue. Industry leaders are saying something. So I think, you know, in terms of this combination with technology and business to an MBA is still very much relevant and will enhance you as individuals and your personal growth. What are our program highlights? We offer a Euro-Asia Business MBA. That gives us focus here on the marketplace. If you look at the turmoil that's happening in Europe, a lot of businesses are coming here to Asia. So Asia is very much growing. And whenever I speak to my colleagues over in the West, that's what they keep talking about. It's very much, we need to understand China. We need to understand what's happening there in ASEAN. So we have that that MBA just with that European business perspective to keep it very much relevant of those people that want to come to Asia. They'll see it very relevant, or those that see their future in Asia to conduct their business, a very relevant MBA. We have the traditional MBA with some technology infusion, and we will be offering a digital leadership specialism. And I think everyone listening to this talk will see the relevance in that. Industry 4.0 orientated courses for all our programs, infused with the digital management knowledge and skills. So I'm going to show how we do that in a couple of minutes. Industry collaboration, real-world experience, and those soft skills that I constantly talk about. We have students from well over 130 countries. Multicultural. You cannot buy that experience. Well, you can if you come and do an MBA. You're learning from all those individuals. Remember I said networking. in a multicultural learning environment, you learn from other exposure to the business, the exposure to real world problems, and how other people from other countries would have solved that problem. That's priceless. It's priceless knowledge that you're going to get on these programs. Not only that, you're ultimately, am I going to get a job at the end of this? Well, you've got an alumni, a global network of colleagues that you're graduating with. It's a global business. You're getting global perspectives and a global network. You know, what more could you ask for? And it's also learning beyond boundaries, beyond the classroom, because there's the micro-credentials, the professional certification that goes on, also the societal, social events that run, which enhance your networking, which has been identified as a key skill by industry players, and in terms of the practitioners are talking about the soft skills that you require. So the MBA itself, now, I quite like this image because I think this shows you business. You know, you've got your online and offline orders, you've got your logistics here, you've got your, back in the day we used to call it clicks and mortar, your physical store, you've got your 24-hour support, you've got your financial component there, your marketing, about discounts, etc. That's business. In order to understand business, you've got to understand your people, your organization, and where it fits within the marketplace. So we've got these core modules, which, remember I talked about, they've got marketing, we've got your finance, your HR, your organization. Well, we've got that. And you've also got a project that you can apply to your current business, a business that you want to work in. One of our partners in industry, that's what you do, a research-led, make it contemporary, make it relevant. We also have some, so that's the core. That's what I've said. The core of an MBA never really changes because it's no longer then an MBA. But we can infuse with some electives, like technology management. Bill Gates talks about the combination between technology and business, technology and management. So must be relevant. Managing creativity and innovation. Entrepreneurship, because you might want to lead your team by yourself and not necessarily be led by someone else in an organization. It gives you that choice, that sort of flexibility. Rather than pigeonholing you in, an MBA gives you a jump up the career ladder, but you're still working for someone else. You can work for yourself. So that degree of choice and option. And of course, behavioral science, social media, and marketing analytics, because it is, after all, analytical driven MBA. So a traditional MBA. I mentioned we have coming on board the specialism in digital leadership, where we also have these sort of, because it's a specialism. So we're looking at that leading business transformation specifically, not just underpinning our modules, but specifically digital execution. How do you execute strategies in a digital marketplace? And of course, big data, analytics and technologies with, as I said, the specialism. So a little bit more digital, shall we say, because it's a specialism. So it's not the traditional MBA, it's an MBA with that specialism. So a choice, because it's not for everyone. Some people might just want overview in terms of the MBA and they want these skills. Absolutely fine. Others go, actually, I am a senior executive within the organization, or I want to be, and I'm really looking to develop my leadership skills. Well, that specialism will be for you. We also have the MBA Euro-Asia business, and you'll notice there's some similarities with the traditional MBA, but there is the slant towards Euro-Asian perspectives in terms of strategy. So very bespoke on the Euro-Asia business. Now, it's particularly valuable when you go and speak to, colleagues in the West, and they'll say, because it's popular amongst graduates that maybe want to work either, as I said, in Asia or in the West, because instantly people go, it's an MBA with that perspective. That means they understand Asian business. We just had a recent postgraduate student. He came from the Netherlands, and he was talking, he wanted to grow his portfolio and work in China. And one of his areas he wanted to focus specifically on Euro-Asia business as for his project. Because he says, when I go back to the Netherlands, they're talking about growth in Asia, having more knowledge of the Asian market. So he saw the relevance for that. So it's not only relevant for Malaysians that want to stay in Malaysia or Asia, it's also relevant for Western students wanting to come and get more knowledge of Euro-Asia business, because we have understanding because we're in Asia, so we know the market pretty well. So once again, there's that perspective. In addition, we have the marketing in terms of globalization, giving you that understanding of where Asia is in a global context. So there's some similarities in the modules, but there's also some differences because you've got a choice. It's not just a MBA. You have the traditional, you have the specialism, and you also have the focus, which is very much relevant in Asia. We looked at jobs, and jobs are changing. But I go back to my original point about, has the market changed significantly? Is the MBA still relevant? And, I typed in things like digital transformation, digital officer, digital manager, and we're finding there's similarities here. We've always needed consultants. So if you get an MBA, right, they're always looking for consultants, but now they're maybe looking for a digital consultant. They've always looked for analysts. They're now looking for digital or IT analysts. They're always looking for, it says it a bit, leaders, managers now they're looking for digital lead. So in a lot of cases, they're putting the word digital in front of traditional type jobs. That's what I'm saying. We've always needed project managers. Now it's digital project manager, digital lead, operations manager, digital logistics manager, HR manager, digital transformation manager, perhaps, sales and marketing, digital marketing manager. So the same key skills are required, but you just need that digital understanding. So MBAs should, and ours certainly has, that digital technology infusion, which means that you're able to apply for both sets of jobs. The traditional project manager and now the digital project manager. Whereas I think maybe in other programs that are very traditional and haven't moved with the times, they're no longer relevant because you need that understanding of the digital component. So that's what I was saying. It's sometimes people look at jobs and say, can I do that? Of course you can, because the job is still the job. You're just in a digital transformation, and that's what underpins our MBA program, so that you are able to do these jobs. So you've got, actually, that's why I put them together. You've actually got a wider choice now of job options with an MBA. So is the MBA still relevant? Very much so. It's opening more doors. It's not closing doors. I've included this as well. So this is what heading towards my penultimate slide. So we've got like 10 minutes or so for questions. This is the happiest aspect of my job, because you see people graduate. And what we did was we had a look at across the board, from diploma, from degree towards management, PhD. And what are people doing now? And I just wanted to show again, just to reinforce that there's some, they're still going into traditional jobs, but the phrase e-business or digital has been included. But again, I want to reinforce that it's not just me that's saying it, it's the reality. That's why I've brought in industry leaders. I've brought in some references from academia. I'm also bringing in what real students, graduates from the business school are doing. And there we go, business development, digital marketing, analyst, business development, marketplace account manager, e-commerce, look at traffic, so very much driven by analytics, e-commerce, data analytics, business development specialist, senior executive, regional digital marketing, which shows because your knowledge on that business and technology infused business gives you that wide option to do for a variety of different jobs within the field. So I said you could get jobs in HR, in marketing, and it's proved to be the case. This is my final slide. I mentioned to you about soft skills, and I always finish any presentation I do with this. And what do you need to succeed? Now, in my opinion, the MBA gives you these skills to succeed. And I think this is reflective across the programs in our postgraduate portfolio. I think as humans, and I think as potential industry leaders, we need these 6 skills. If we want to lead, we ourselves have to be able to motivate and be motivated ourselves. We must empathize with people going through their own digital transformation. We must be capable, regardless of our age. We must adapt. I used the example of my father, right? We must adapt and have digital capabilities. It has to be embedded in the MBA. So motivation has to come through. Empathy has to come through in all the modules. Creativity and innovation has to be dedicated module. Adaptability, flexible. It ties in with what industry leaders have been talking about. And I mentioned about the constant need to problem solve. That's why you need real world problems in order to get that understanding. And this is your future. I always say your future starts now, where you yourself have to be self-directed. You have to engage and say, you know what? I am now going to have to develop myself. Am I ready for the future? Or do I have to upskill? And if so, in what areas must I upskill in? So that's what I'm saying. My dad had to go on a course, how to learn how to communicate with me. And I've had to adapt, develop from my skill set, from my undergraduate degree to where I am now. So I think it's saying constantly innovate, constantly be aware of the transformation in yourself and in the marketplace. So your future starts now. And the questions will start now, I think. So we've now got about 10 minutes or so for questions. So I think that ends it for today. I think that's more than enough. So over to the questions. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Associate Prof. Dr. Jason, for the sharing. So now is our Q&A section. So everyone, please feel free to drop your question at our comments area. So Associate Prof. Dr. Jason, we have some questions from the audience. The first question is from Pavan Kasya. So the question is it good to do MBA after Bachelor in Cybersecurity?
I would thank you, Pavan. Thank you for your question. I think it would make you a more rounded individual. There's a debate whether you should do your MBA after you've been in industry for a couple of years, or to do it straight after your undergraduate. There's no right and wrong answer. You have to do what's right for you. I think personally, whether you do it 2 years later, a year later, 10 years later, or straight after, I think it gives you that additional set of skills. As cybersecurity, you've done an excellent bachelor's. Cybersecurity is going to be the future. You've future-proofed yourself. You then go to a company. You are going to be a high flyer. You're going to be managing people. You're going to have to lead them, motivate them, deal with a difficult situation, particularly post-pandemic. Do you have these tools? Now, that's what you have to ask yourself. If no, and you go, I don't know how I'm going to motivate people that are maybe 10 years younger than me. I'm not confident as a leader. You might want to do an MBA now. Or if you go, hey, I'm confident now. I think I've got that skill set. I'm pretty knowledgeable in HR. I kind of know my marketing. I've got these soft skills. Then you could maybe look at an MBA in the future, and maybe your company will sponsor you, etc., as they want to progress you towards leadership. So it depends in your particular career. I think you probably think, do I have these skills, and do I want to give myself more confidence? The other thing to think about is levels of maturity. Like when I graduated, I was 21, and I was a young 21. Wow, and I went back to university in a master's because I didn't feel ready for industry, because I thought, I want to go and lead. I want to make a difference in industry. I want to develop my skills before I go into industry. Some of my colleagues felt really confident going in and say, hey, I want to go into the industry now. So I kind of answered your question in the sense of, yes, an MBA is good for you, for sure. But it's the timing. If you feel confident with leadership and management skills, go into industry straight away. If not, yeah, it would do you the world of good signing up to do an MBA, because you need that complement. And look how good your CV is going to be. You've got the management, a benchmark master's, and in an area of cybersecurity, which it is very much the here and now and the future. So hopefully that answers your question. So yes, do it, but the timing depends on your particular skill set.
Okay, yeah. So the timing is very important. So yes, we have another question from Baha Othman. Okay, the question is, in your opinion, what makes MBA still relevant today, and how do you think the MBA will look in 5 years' time?
Okay, I love these questions. What makes the MBA has to be refreshed. That's what makes the MBA still relevant. I think if it was tired and old-fashioned and not teaching the skills that you need today, I don't think it would be relevant. But as I've tried to show today, you still need those core skills, strategy, understanding the organization, dealing with the customer, the marketing skills. But in order to make it even more relevant and contemporary, you need to, supplement with the analytics, the digital transformation, etc. So I think it's keeping it contemporary, the way it's delivered, the content of the modules and the modules that are being taught keeps it still relevant. Otherwise, you're right, it would no longer be relevant. And that's why some MBAs have been diluted so much, they're no longer MBAs. They're actually, masters in business. So, or other ones that are just so old-fashioned, they're no longer fit for purpose. You're learning things that are 50 years old, which not really useful nowadays. So it has to be contemporary. What will it look like in 5 years? Very interesting. I think other masters will change. You're going to have sometimes they have disposable modules. Disposable modules are things which are very specific, which are relevant, like green marketing. Very important, and it's going to increasingly be important. So it might have 2 modules, 3 modules. Then you might have a master's in sustainability and green business, because it's become so important. So you're going to have masters that will become different and innovative. Some masters will die, some masters will innovate. I think the MBA will remain the same. I think it will always have these core modules, and it will be supplemented by more relevant, more specialisms, maybe more specialist electives. But an MBA will still be an MBA. It's been there for 100 years. You know, you couldn't say that other masters have been there for 100 years or will be for 100 years. So I think the MBA will always be a flagship in the business. It's just a mark of, you know, endorsement from industry. People say, you've got overview. I think that's the other difference. Other masters will become more specialized. Like, you're very niche. I've got an MBA, I've got a master's in marketing. Very specific, or digital marketing. Very relevant. But the MBA is one of the few masters that gives you that. If you've done an MBA, you know that that person knows business, an overview of business. Whereas these other ones are more specialized. So I think the MBA will still be very much relevant, just changing some modules, changing the way it's delivered perhaps as it develops, and maybe some more specialisms and electives. But the core will, because it's been there for over 100 years.
Okay.
Just my opinion.
Okay. Thank you, Associate Prof. Dr. Jason. We have another question from audience. This question is from Long. Should I do an MBA rather than another master?
Ooh, I'm here to talk about the MBA, and it reflects a certain. It has to complement your skill set. Okay, so if you are wanting to go into the computing field, you're maybe then looking at the data science. You might think, okay, or cybersecurity, mass, you know, AI, etc. You might want to look in that area. But if you're wanting to drive a company, lead a company, you know, become more entrepreneurial, perhaps, then an MBA would be for you, because it gives you that overview. That, I think that's the difference. Other masters are very focused. You know, international business communications, and global marketing, management, cybersecurity, very focused. So when you instantly look at an employer goes, that's the person for me, because that's exactly what I'm looking for, cybersecurity masters. Whereas an MBA is that overview. So you would then be looking for these positions in an organization that you will be leading and driving. So it depends on what sort of career you're looking for. That's why we have so many masters. I did a talk, which I think one of the final slides was our portfolio on our postgraduates. We don't give you all that choice because we enjoy writing, you know, sort of documentation for the Malaysian Qualification Authority. We do it to give you choice. So if you look and go, is that right for me? I'm more than happy to speak to you. And my colleagues are to say, let me have a look at your CV. Let me have a look at where your career is. And then go, I think maybe this specialized master's is more for you. Or I think the MBA, because you want that overview of business. So it depends on your skill set. So you've got our contact details. Please get in touch over the next couple of days, and we'll better advise you based upon your particular circumstances.
Okay. So yeah, hi Long. So if you want to get more information, maybe you can drop an email to us, info@apu.edu.my. And Associate Prof. Dr. Jason, we have one more question from Ibiwani. So the question is, can a person who did different program enroll for MBA, example, actuarial science?
Absolutely. The Pavan was an example there. He just was mentioning he's done cybersecurity. Should I pursue an MBA? Yes. It gives you that insight into business. So I think there's, actuarial sciences and, good subjects. You're bright people doing that. And it's the same as cybersecurity, some really clever students coming out of there. But they're focused on that area. They're specialized in that area to get that understanding of business as they enter, to lead and to be led, to understand where they fit in the marketplace. They get that other perspective. I didn't do business as an undergraduate. I did political philosophy. And I did an MBA to make myself more rounded. So I think absolutely, you get the best of both worlds. I've been saying technology-infused business, because I think if you only have business without technology, you're missing something. It's the same as if you do technology with no insight into business. We're greedy in industry as employers. We want our future employees to have everything. So if you're coming in and saying, hey, I've got an actuarial science, you go, oh, this guy's bright, this guy's good. And also I've got an MBA, he knows business as well. You're giving yourself every opportunity to get that higher salary and that better recognition, because you've taken the effort to understand both perspectives. It's not just, I know actuarial science, but I've got no understanding of business. So absolutely, the best of both worlds. It's like it's a selling point in the UK about a type of bread. It's like 50-50 or best of both. Brown bread is meant to be more healthy. White bread is meant to be tastier. And so that's why it was so popular in the UK to say best of both, which has the white and brown combined, which is a tasty bread, which is also healthy for you. Perfect scenario. So hopefully that answers your question.
Okay. So thank you, Associate Prof. Dr. Jason. So today's session going to end here. If you need further information, feel free to drop by at our campus or submit your inquiry to info@apu.edu.my. So see you all. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Please do pop by our wonderful campus. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.